Hi everybody, welcome to Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about an interesting subject that has been often brought up, and I'd like to give you my perspective on it, and that is, should we share our crystals with other people? Meaning, do I keep this crystal and not let anybody else touch it? So instantly, as I guess a caring, loving person, it would be a little bit to me like sat with lots of children, me opening a present and not letting anybody look at it or play with it or touch it. It's my present and that's it. You're going to get a lot of people in the spiritual community laugh at that, but that's just how I would see it instantly. It's mine. It's my precious. And it's like, doesn't make sense to me. If something is beautiful, if something is loving, if something is healing, if something is going to lift people up, then I'm going to share that with the world, whether that's a thought, whether that's an experience that I've had that helped me along my journey, whether that is a modality that I use in healing, which is pure energy healing that I share with the world. And I share as much as that as I can freely every day. I have done for years. And the same too goes for everything that comes out of my mouth as energy. And if you believe that and you're spiritual, or you're walking a spiritual path, then everything is energy. So whatever comes out of my mouth is either going to be positive or negative. So I choose to do my best in sharing as much positivity as I can. It doesn't happen every day. Some days I'm tired. Some days I'm exhausted with scallywags and idiots on the internet. And some days I'm refreshed because of the love and the kindness that is shared to me. So whenever you say something lovely, it's not just words. It's healing. It's healing words. And it heals me. And I think if we all shared that healing energy with each other, the world would be a stronger place. So therefore, if everything is energy and everything that we do is either positive or negative, then me holding this crystal and saying, oh no, no, you can't touch it, it's mine. First thing I'm going to think, if I look at you and I'm sat with you, I feel bad. Why? Why can't I touch it? It's a bit like being with your parents or being with a teacher, and the teacher says, don't touch that. Or your mum, don't touch that. It's like, but I want to touch it. I want to feel it. So it's a kind of punishment by saying, oh no, don't let people touch your crystals. So I've sat and had this conversation, and a lot of people have fallen out with me terribly when we've discussed the idea of this sharing of crystals or non-touch crystal, because it's your energy and you don't want to cause any issue. You don't want to bring in bad energy. Ultimately, that's what it's about. People are frightened of the crystal not serving them because somebody else has touched it, and now the frequency of that crystal has changed and it no longer serves the purpose of you. I've made many videos on the thousands of crystals that I've handled and worked with, and I've made many crystals of the experience of using crystals on my clients. Now, I used to have between 4 and 10 crystals around my neck at any time as a healer for 12 solid years. And what that meant was, when my clients are lying down in here, I had a table over there filled with maybe 50 to 100 crystals. I would randomly choose a crystal from the table or one from my neck and just take it off and either put it in the hand of the client, and when I'd finished, I'd either take the crystal back, put it around my neck, or decide if it felt right to give it to the client. And often many clients would wake up with a crystal around their neck as a gift, and, oh, I've got a crystal, and say, yeah, it was my gift to you, or it was your grandmother or your brother or your sister in the spirit world that asked me to put this around your neck or asked me to give you this crystal. It wasn't particularly me as a person. I was just a channel to what I felt that sometimes your family would be in the room while I'm giving a healing session. And more often than not, people used to say, oh, I felt my grandmother. And I'd say, yeah, that's the person who's just told me to put that around your neck before you told me that. And it's like, really? What did she look like? Well, I didn't see her, but I felt her. What does she feel like? Well, I didn't really feel anything. You know, everybody wants me to like clarify. Sometimes I can't clarify, but I felt like it was your grandmother. It felt like your grandmother, or it felt like there was a child here. And sometimes I'd like, oh, I don't know why, but I've just gifted you that from what looked like a beautiful girl. She looks about 7 or 8 years old, and she'd be crying, saying, oh, I lost my daughter. You know, the pregnancy didn't, turn out, and it would have been 8 years now. And it's like, okay, well, I saw her and described her. And, it wasn't like I was like a medium, but sometimes I'd see things and relate to my client, and it was profound to them. And it was profound to me. It was like, how do you do that, Mark? I don't know. Well, show us. I don't know. Can't do that. It's just, if it happens, it happens. And, so going back to the gifting of crystals, whatever I had around my neck, I would give it to the client. So it would be a gift. So that would be a nice feeling. Then they'd go. Did I ever hold a crystal that I said, this is my crystal and I don't want anybody to touch it? I can only remember at the very beginning when I went to a circle night in, I think it was Coin, and there was like 2 ladies who were really angry, really not very nice. And both of them started saying that you shouldn't let people touch your crystals. And I thought, well, I don't want to touch anything that you have anyway, regardless of your crystal, because they were quite nasty. And I thought that kind of made sense. But then there were some people who were really nice and said, oh, don't touch my crystals, or don't touch my tarot cards or my angel cards. And I would ask them, where did that actually come from? And then they would say that they were taught this or they were told this. So that's a form of brainwashing to me. So I didn't blame them. I didn't get upset. But what I did say is that for the years that I've been working with crystals, I allow people to come into my reading room, children, adults, no matter how they're feeling, and just what's in this room is yours. And this will be confirmed by thousands of people who have been into this room that first came from around the world, whether it was America, whether it was Zimbabwe, wherever they came around the world. And I'd open the door and they'd be here for 4 days, and they'd walk in and I'd say, es mi casa, es tu casa, right? I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to fear. Everything that here is beautiful. Things happen, of course they happen, and things break and stuff, and it's okay. I don't hold anything to, okay, it's going to make me upset if that breaks. No, nothing in here, whatever break. If my oils break, I'm thinking, oh shit, that's years and years of oils, but it's okay. Maybe it's time for a new oil. So I wouldn't get angry like my first mentor used to get angry and don't touch this and don't do this. And it's like, and people used to come in here and go, oh, and I'd say, it's all right. Everything in here you can touch. Whatever you want, whatever you feel drawn to, touch. And part of the Pure Energy Healing 4-day course is basically that all these tools are yours to use. And you will often hear me say, and hopefully it will be clarified here, if there's a crystal here on that table that you really feel that your client or these clients who are coming in for a healing session need, then you gift it to them from your heart or from the spirit world and say that's a gift to you, and it's got nothing to do with me. So everything that I like, I didn't come and say, what did you do? Did you just gift that like? No. So I go against that understanding of, why, and the argument of why you shouldn't let somebody touch it is it didn't really make any difference when they tried to explain it to me, because I'd sit there, because I like truth, I like people to share the truth, and I'd like to sit and think, okay, that makes complete sense. Never made any sense, none of it. And the reason why it didn't make sense is because I'd handle crystals of people who came here who were not so nice. And I mean really not so nice. And sometimes I'd have people here for quite a while and they weren't so nice. and they would handle crystals and put them down, and then I would clear the fact that they weren't so nice and hold that crystal that they touched, and that crystal was beautiful, and actually that crystal needed to be in their hand. Why? Because it needed to help them. So good for the crystal, well done. And why would you not want to share a crystal with somebody else if that crystal is filled with love and healing? Why would you not want to share that? The only way I can think is why you wouldn't want to share it is because you think you are more important and you need it more than somebody else, which is, to me, completely selfish. So you do what you want. If you feel that I need this crystal, and I said, that's fine, no problem, I get it. Maybe you needed to heal, and that's okay. But do you really think that a crystal holds so little energy that it could only heal you and nobody else? To me, a crystal that I've worked with, I've got some in here which are 20 years old nearly, and they've been worked upon clients, or thousands, tens of thousands of clients, and that crystal is probably one of the most powerful crystals in the world. And the reason why, I'll explain this to you, and maybe it might make a bit of sense. At any given moment where you are being healed from the spirit world, which happens often through the day that you don't even realize, when you're having a healing session, when healing is coming to you from the universe or the cosmos, when you are self-healing, the crystal then absorbs that memory if it's positive and high frequency. And the more healing sessions you give to yourself or you receive, that becomes almost like a computer putting memory and information into that computer, so it's growing and growing. And that's the same thing with crystals. The more good energy you put into it, it does not receive bad energy. Crystals don't receive bad energy. I've never had a crystal that has been negative, and I have people bring me crystals saying there's this really horrible woman and nasty, and this is the crystal that she gave me, and I don't like her and I don't want it, and I'd hold it without the thought of what that woman's just said, and said, wow, this crystal's beautiful. So I it's like, you know, if that crystal was awful and I felt badness from it, I'd say this has got bad energy, but I've never felt a crystal with bad energy. So I've been working with thousands and thousands of crystals. I work with them every day. I work with more crystals than most people ever would do in a lifetime in one day. So it's like, I've never felt it. I've never felt bad energy with a crystal. Never. Sometimes I might not feel anything, but that doesn't make it bad. Sometimes I feel blown away. Does that make it a better crystal than one that I didn't feel anything from? No, just that crystal hadn't a purpose for my energy. So my energy wasn't needed, or the crystal's energy wasn't needed for me. Doesn't make it bad, but this crystal, wow. And that's why sometimes crystals call to you and you feel pulled towards them, because they have an energy, and that is what you're being pulled towards. Not the crystal, but the energy. You're feeling that energy. You can feel it through the screen. You can hear it. People can tell you about it. Oh, I need that crystal. Yeah, because you're drawn to it by something other than just the brain. There's some greater power. So you do whatever you feel. I'm not calling you selfish. I'm not calling you, sometimes it's nice to have something and say, okay, I really love this and I want it and I don't want anybody else. That's okay. It's the way you are. It's what you need right now. That's fine. I get it, because you're healing yourself. But if I'm stood by somebody, a child or a grandma, and somebody who looks at me and says, oh my God, that crystal you're wearing is beautiful. If you've ever been out with me, and if you know me, if you've ever been with me, if I see somebody who feels so much love for that crystal, it comes off my neck and it goes around them, and I'll say, enjoy the energy. And they'll go, oh my God, no. And I'll say, no, it's definitely for you. And I can't really explain in any way, shape or form how I wouldn't want to gift it to somebody else. I couldn't explain why. There'd be no reason for me. Like, okay, the work's been done now, somebody else needs it. again, and I want to keep going back to this idea of many spiritual people talking to me about why you shouldn't let people touch your crystal. There's never anybody's energy that had any kind of power at all over a crystal. Never. Never, 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 never had any energy power over a crystal, which means to me that whenever you handle a crystal, the crystal's energy is far more, vibrates at a far greater energy than you. Because that's what I used to say to these people who said that. I'd say, what, you know, if I was to ask you, of all these people here, who vibrates higher than that crystal, that crystal there, or that crystal around your neck? And they'll say, nobody. And I'll say, so then why would me giving that crystal to everybody to hold, why would it cause any issue if what you've just told me? And then they get very angry, and then they get really angry, and then they never speak to me again, and then they pull me down, and then they curse me, and then they say bad things about me. And it's like, wow, really? Are you really like that? You're meant to be spiritual. You're meant to be a healer. You're meant to be a loving. You're meant to be a psychic. You're meant to be a medium. Really? Is that, you know? So everybody that I've tried to discuss this with, and I have discussed it with lots and lots of people, and some people who really want a conversation about it, I've never understood their argument. I've never understood it, because if you understand crystals, then you understand that there's nothing that can then ruin the energy of a crystal. So I've never had a crystal that I've had to say, oh my God, this the energy's gone. It's just, you know, I had this one lady saying, oh, I gave this crystal to so-and-so, and she was in the village here. I remember her in the village. She also used to wear black. And she says, oh, I gave this crystal to a lady, and now it's dead. And I held the crystal, and I said, well, why is it dead? Well, because I worked with it, and it gave me this, and it gave me that. And I'd say, okay, and does it not do that now? No. Could it be, possibly, could it be that that crystal actually gave you what you needed, so that feeling is gone now because it opened you up, it vented, it released, it got rid of the trauma, it got rid of whatever you needed, it opened your third eye up, it made you see and feel, and now that you are open or you've cleansed of it, maybe that crystal can't do what it did, what it was meant to have done, what it did do for you. So it might have been a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, okay, this is wow, and then no more wow. Yeah, because the crystal isn't there to make you wow. It's there to either open you up, clear, bring your vibration up to the point where, okay, now your body is the crystal and should vibrate at that. So when I have this conversation with people and try and explain that to them, it could have just been a little bit of coincidence that the crystal, you know, worked and did what it needed to do, and now you gave it to somebody else and you've got it back, and now you can't feel anything from it because the crystal did what it was meant to do. And sometimes I'd say to them, why don't you put this crystal away for a while, just leave it and come back to it in maybe 6 months or 3 months. And then they'd say, oh yeah, my God, it's working again. And then I'd say, did you cleanse? No, I just left it where it was. So you didn't cleanse it, you didn't clear it, you did nothing to it, and you went back to it and held it again, and then something happened. Yeah, well, my argument with that, or not an argument, but my truth about that is, okay, so whatever you were going through in them 3 months of not touching that crystal, something may have happened again. You might have had trauma, you might have been closed again. So you pick this crystal up and the crystal says, okay, now we need to help you back to where you were before. So now you're holding it and getting the same kind of feelings because it's clearing away what was cleared before. And wow, and then now it's not working anymore now. No, again, you're doing the same thing. You're thinking the same thing. It's not that it's not working. It worked perfectly, and it's done what it's needed to do. So now you put the crystal away and leave it, or gift it to somebody else and let them feel whatever they need to feel from it. Does that make any sense, or none at all? I think I come across in a different way because I'm a stubborn man who was never really taught to believe and simply take all this knowledge, what's shared to me, and just believe it. I've never done that. I've always been somebody who listens to people And if it feels right, work with it. If it doesn't feel right, let it go. And not just say it's wrong, but just let it go and think for myself. And most of all, instead of just believing something, I'm going to try it and see if it works. And then I go back to my mentor and say, that didn't work for me, but this worked. And then they'd get upset. They'd always get upset with me. And it's like, no, I'm not saying you were wrong. Why are you upset? So all of this was great learning for me. So when I sit with people who come to experience what I experience, if their experience is different and say, oh no, that didn't work for me, but this did, I'd get excited. I'd go, oh wow, I'm going to try that. Why is it that my old teachers would get so angry because something didn't work for them, or something that they told me didn't make sense, or it would be something else completely different? Why wouldn't they get excited about that? And I guess you probably figured out that some people are so stubborn in their own ways that they're not willing to change. My stubbornness was, no, I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to try it and see if it works. And if it does, I'll go, oh my God, that worked really well. Like my first mentor put a MOLDAVITE in my hand without saying anything. I actually literally lift off the ground. And I'm like, did anybody else see that? I felt like I'd lifted off the ground. So, and she was so excited about it, right? But then sometimes she'll give me some and it didn't have no effect on me. And then she'd be upset about it. And I'm like, why would you get upset? It's like, you know, it doesn't matter. So my openness to try it, if it doesn't work, then what do you think? Try something else. So I don't have this philosophy on this is how it is. That's why it's really hard to write a crystal book, because there is no real ABC. There's just experience, and there's just your body, and your body is different from mine, and your experience, your trauma, your childhood, your life, your path, what you eat, what you think, what you feel, what your energy is going to be completely different from the next person to you when you give them a MOLDAVITE or a amethyst or whatever it is. Our experiences should be honored, respected, and really embraced. So I've said this before, when I have a website that I sell crystals on daily, and people buy them, and it's like, yeah, I get happy when somebody buys it, and I look at that, oh wow, brilliant. But what excites me most of all is when I come on here and somebody says, I bought this crystal and this is what happened to me. That I'm scanning to see what feeling you got. And I can tell you this is a fact, guys. This is a fact. There is no set rules. There is no ABC, 1, 2, 3. There is no crystal that does this or that. It's all experience, and every experience is completely different. So the one thing that I found with a lot of people who used to come to me, used to get upset, and I tried to change that. And the easiest way I changed it is when I did Pure Energy Healing Crystal course. It's a 4-day course. And I'd make everybody close my eyes. So there might be 4, 6, 8 people in here spending 4 days with me. And they'd all close their eyes, and then I'd say, okay guys, we're now going to do something amazing, and it's about feeling crystals. And I'm going to put a crystal in each person's hand while your eyes are closed. And I want you to hold that crystal, and I'm going to switch the music off because I want you to just hold it. And it might be a while before I put a crystal in your hand, depending on how I feel about which crystal you need. So just relax and enjoy this. This might take about 15-20 minutes. So I switch the music on, and then I'd take a crystal and put it into this lady's hand. Okay, and when I'd finished, everybody opened their eyes, and I'd say, okay, everybody had a book, because I gave them a book with a pen, and I'd say, write your experience with the crystal I put in your hand today. So they'd write their experience, and then I'd say, okay, everybody, could you please tell the class what you got from the experience of the crystal you had in your hand? So somebody would say, oh my God, I saw blue all over, and my head was like going crazy. I felt so wonderful in my head. Okay, amazing. Next person, oh, my hands were burning, and I could just feel this beautiful sensation in my hands of love, and it was going to my heart. Okay, so your hands and heart. Next person, oh, I felt really heavy in my legs, like I was being pulled down, like, oh, and it was like, oh, something was being pulled out of me. Wow, okay, brilliant. And it'd get to the end of the 8 people, and I'd say, okay, does everybody want to know what your crystal was you were holding? And they'd go, yes, please. What did I have? And I'd say, you all held the same crystal. And then there'd be deadly silence in the room. Okay? So what I did was give somebody a crystal and then took it out of their hand and give it to the next person, and they didn't see this. So, conclusion, everybody. You all held a labradorite, or you all held whatever crystal it was. Conclusion, everybody. Does this crystal heal in one way, or does it heal in many ways? And of course, you can't argue it heals in many ways. Therefore, labradorite doesn't work in a set way, because if it did, then everybody would say and feel the same thing. So that kills crystal books. It just throws it out of the window, and it makes no sense. So that's why it's hard for me to talk about crystals in the way that spiritual people who work with crystals want me to talk. And I won't do that. I just will not do that. However, there is a difference when you work with a single crystal and you sit down with it and you put energy into it of what you feel. You put energy in of healing, of types of healing. You can then say, oh, by the way, guys, I've worked with this crystal, and with this crystal, as I used to do years ago, I used to lay this crystal on my client, and my client would have a full healing session. Then afterwards, I put the crystal away, and then the client said, oh, I had terrible headaches, but they're gone. So now the energy that came through the universe to give healing to that client with headaches is now in there. So you've got a healing memory to heal headaches. So I would write that down, and then often I would bring the same crystal out without even knowing, put it on my client, and they'd say, oh, I suffer with, trouble in my head. Like, wow, this crystal keeps being used for this. And then you realize, wow, this crystal's been ready for a client for a certain reason. And that's when a lot of my clients would say, could you choose a crystal? And I'd choose the crystal and send it to them. And I'd write down what that crystal was used for in a healing session, because every time a crystal is used for 1 hour on a healing session, you can guarantee that that energy goes into the crystal and through the crystal and stays in the crystal as the same healing memory as what you did on that client for a healing session. It's incredible. So that is the difference between my crystals. I work with my crystals, and when you look at what it says, how it's helped, is what I've worked upon with that crystal in my hand to try and channel that very energy into that crystal. So it's very difficult to write about crystals in the way that people would want, because people want ABC 1, 2, 3. They want it all simple. Just give me the right crystal. I don't know what the right crystal is. What does it feel? What feels right to you? No, relax. You don't need to worry about it. Trust yourself. Just go with it. Just feel it. Okay, this one. That's the one for you then. Really. Trust in your intuition. Trust that what you're picking up is the right crystal. To change people's perceptions from listening to others and following orders or following guidelines with crystals, to me, it doesn't make sense, because of the reason of what I've just said about how I share in a room that crystals touch us in different ways. So I know we've gone from talking about don't touch my crystal to explaining how crystals work, but I think by explaining to you all how a crystal works, it's very individual, it's very loving, but it's very loving and individual to the next person and the next person, or your friend or your family or a stranger or somebody that you hate. I remember this one guy hated me with a passion, and I remember giving him a crystal, wanting to give him one, and the change of him hating me to me giving him a MOLDAVITE, right? He changed. instantly. And he looked at me and he said, what, you gifted me that? And somebody next to him said, oh my God, that's Moldavite. And he says, yeah, I know. So you giving me that? I said, yeah, just as a gift to say, I don't know why, but I just want to gift you this. And we became friends, and he hated me. So just that changed the energy. A gift of love changes energy. And it's amazing how, why wouldn't you want to share that love with somebody else? I'm sorry, I can't understand the argument. No matter how hard you tell me about frequency, energy, how it's personally to you, and don't disrupt this and that. It's like, I just don't get it, guys. I don't get it. I've worked in this room and another room and all over the world and mixed and changed and worked with crystals with thousands of people, and there's never a moment that I ever felt anything negative about a crystal if somebody touched it that somebody else says, oh, I don't really think they should touch it. Why not? Maybe they needed it more than any of us. I just can't find an argument. I'd love for one of you really adamant that no, this is your crystal and nobody should touch it. I don't mind debate. I don't mind a discussion. You try and explain to me why, and okay, I kind of see that, or I don't see it. I've never seen anything that somebody's tried to explain to me. All I've seen is fear. It's fear-based. It really is. It's program-based. It's brainwashing. It's like you explain, you try and convince me any different. It's brainwashing, because you are not more powerful than a crystal, and a crystal does not change its frequency and energy if given to somebody else, because each person has a unique energy that needs healing, that needs trauma cleansing, that needs to be lifted. And you have a different energy from them. So it ain't going to make any difference, because the frequency from that which is given to that person is going to be different from you. So it ain't going to interfere with your healing, because their healing is different from my healing. And a crystal is never ending. It doesn't lose energy. It re-energizes. It's always filled with energy. Every time I've gone to a crystal, I've got one crystal in here that I've used for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It's in there, right? I've used it for thousands of people. I think it would be exhausted by now, because I use it all the time, and I've used it for nearly 16, 17 years. It's my favorite crystal. It's a crystal I love to hold and work with all the time. I love this crystal, and it's there all the time. It's like, well, you must have energized it. No, not energized it. You must have put it in the sun. Can't remember the last time I put it in the sun. Not really, no. See, there is no answer to it. There is nobody who can convince me of any different that a crystal is absolutely a powerful dynamo of energy that has been created to change the frequency of this world, and each one of us, wherever it is, in a room or in your hand or with a child or with somebody who you don't like, it's there for an individual purpose. And that crystal is almost like, I believe it's alive, and it has knowledge, it feels, and it will send an energy to you, and it will heal a certain trauma or a certain block or an issue that you didn't know. So I wear certain crystals that I don't know what's going to happen. And then I feel better after 2 weeks and think, oh, I forgot. I didn't realize, yeah, I do feel better. And I used to see that on my clients. I used to put the crystal on and see them 2, 3, 4 weeks later and say, you're different. And they go, what do you mean? I said, you've just changed. You're not. Do you remember 4 weeks ago when I saw you, you were like, oh yeah, oh, I didn't really think about that. So the crystals has this unique ability, not always as from the thunderbolt and lightning strikes, but sometimes a very subtle energy that clears that trauma or that block or that anger or that fear or that guilt or whatever energy is, it's gone. So yeah, there you go. That's it. Probably peed a lot of people off today, but there you go. I the more I'm getting older, the more I'm realizing that I think people like religion. And the ones who don't like religion still like a religious idea. And that is whether it's, Catholic, whether it's not even Catholic or Mormon, or it's almost like they need something, like Scientology. They need something. They say but people need something to have rules, to have regulations, to have like okay, I need to be this because if I'm this, then everything's right. Well, I don't see life like that. I don't see life as religion. I see life as a flow. And yet so many religious people, so many spiritualists, so many spirituality people are actually doing the same thing. They're acting the same way, and it's like you're still in the religious mode, in this energy of I don't know. And it's like, I try to see that and stand back and say, things change. The world changes. People change. People's thoughts change. The energy changes. The solar system, the cosmos changes. We should be in the energy of changing. But I guess religious and that kind of dogma, that way of thinking keeps us frozen in a world that should be expansive, and we should expand and be able to look at things and change the way we see things and feel. So when people say, well, what do you think? I don't think anything. Well, what do you think about that? I don't think about anything about that. What do you mean you don't thinking about it? Well, shouldn't you think? No, I don't think. I'm just open to everything. Oh, well, you're obviously not this and you're not that. Like, oh, okay. So you have to think this way to be something that you appreciate, or you, okay, well, that's the way you think. That's not the way I think. So I'm just open to anything, and I'm open to crystals and how they change, and sharing and doing whatever I'm doing through the day. I am not a set procedure. Pure energy healing is to bring out the best in you and the uniqueness in you. That's what I try to do when I do videos. I try to make videos and some people are confused and say, well, what is it? Who is it? What's it? Well, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm everything, but I'm nothing. And what do I think? I don't really think anything, but my thoughts are changing all the time. And, well, I can't deal with this. I need ABC. And some people need that ABC. Some people need 1, 2, 3 because it's a programming from a child. As a teacher would tell you, this is wrong, that's right. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Mr. Bajerski, Mrs. Bajerski, Marissa, your son, he is uncontrollable. Damn right, I'm uncontrollable. We can't control him. Damn right, you can't control me. And neither can anybody else till this day. And yet they try. The amount of emails I get, the amount of nasty messages telling me that I should be religious, that I should believe in God, that I should believe in G. I don't believe in anything. And I believe in everything. What are you talking about? It just throws people. But I'd rather be open to anything than be subjected to having to believe something and then stick to it even though I know it's wrong, or even though it doesn't make any sense, because I don't want people to think bad of me, or that I'm stupid, or that I hold on to certain belief systems because of ego. No, not interested in any of that. You keep that to your religions. You keep that to your psychologists. You keep that to your diggers of ancient artifacts that they fight with each other because they've written books about something, and now their theory isn't not such a strong theory anymore, but they'll fight you because they've written it and said it. It's like, grow up, children. Grow up. So, crystals, share, gift, and let people hold them, because that is who you are, an extension of a beautiful crystal. I just thought just then, that's like saying, no, I don't want to hug that person. No, I don't want to hug that person. They don't deserve my hug. Or I don't want to get bad energy off them, I don't know, guys. Things are very strange. I remember maybe about 2 weeks ago, I felt so sorry for this lady, and I know she'd been jabbed up to the hilt, and she was in a bad place, really bad place. And hey, what can I say? I was sat down, she smiled, sad smile. And yeah, I gifted her a crystal from my pocket, and I had a box of cleansing sticks, and I gave her a hug, and I cleansed myself, came back up here and cleansed myself, cleared it away. But, you know, it is what it is. You do what you do, whether you think it's not good or good. You follow your heart, you know. I just want to look back on the world one day and say I did my best. And I don't think I'd feel too good if I said, you know, I kept all my crystals to myself and never let anybody have any or hold them because it's my crystal. I don't know. I don't think I want to live like that. Just feels like I'm Scrooge. All right. Have a lovely day. If you hate me, just press the bell, because you might want to watch another video to hate me again. All right, guys. Hopefully tomorrow. What day is it today? Is it Tuesday? Tuesday today. Wednesday tomorrow. I think tomorrow is the last day of my naughty boy for speaking about truth on my main platform. So you might be able to come across, and tomorrow I might make a video on Mark Bajerski. This goes out on Mark Bajerski crystals, but please subscribe to this one just in case they decide to knock me completely off and find another video that they didn't like. So just one more video, and then that site's going to be taken down. So fingers crossed it doesn't. But please, subscribe here, because then you'll get to watch a few more beautiful videos of some amazing crystals coming up in this near future. This year is going to be pretty awesome with some new and beautiful crystals that I haven't shared with you yet. So, and things like this, if you like it or you hate it. Take care. Have a lovely day.